All right, with that, we hand over to Sumera.
Mangalam, thanks very much for that. Joining me this afternoon on the MF Corner, I have Kaustubh Belapurkar of Morningstar, who joins in to answer all the queries that are coming in. Kaustubh, hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Sumera.
Good to see you again, and let's get cracking right away. Our first query comes in from Emmanuel Gracias, who calls in from Goa. Hi, Emmanuel, how are you and how can we help you?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, Emmanuel, good afternoon to you as well. How can we help you?
I'm calling from Goa, and I'm actually started my retirement planning from my first job. From the first day of my first job, actually. And I'm holding 4 funds, which in each I'm investing 25,000.
Okay.
That is HDFC Prudence, Mid-Cap Opportunities, DSP Mid-Cap, and the Birla 95 Hybrid Fund.
Okay.
And my holding period is 20 years, where I will not touch these.
All right. So basically, you want to just for Kaustubh to assess your portfolio and to know if you're on the right track.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so Emmanuel, first up, congratulations, not just for starting off on this journey pretty early, but also for having a consolidated portfolio. But as to how good the portfolio itself is, for that, I'm going to leave Kaustubh to answer.
Sure. So, I think, again, just kind of mirroring your thoughts, congrats, Manuel. I wish I could say that I'd started investing from day one, but a great job on that. And I'm just quickly looking at your portfolio, and I think you've done a fairly good job in kind of, getting your thoughts together and, picking some of the funds. So if you look at it, you have 2 mid-cap funds, the HDFC mid-cap and the DSP mid-cap. I would say continue holding on to them. Clearly, given that you have a long-term investment horizon, while it might be slightly on the higher side of 50% allocation towards smaller mid-caps, I don't mind it, just given that you have that sort of time horizon. But do be cognizant that, there will be dips in the market like we've seen in the year of 2018. So just be ready to weather that volatility. Otherwise, you're pretty good with these two. The other 2 funds that you mentioned is the HDFC Balance Advantage and the Birla Equity Hybrid. Both come from, both are basically run with a sort of 65 to 80% allocation to equities and the remaining into fixed income. So I think from an overall perspective, I'm quite happy with the funds that you have, and I wouldn't really ask you to make any fund level changes for the time being. But a few points that I would probably leave for you to sort of think about is, there's no pure large cap strategy in your portfolio right now. Not that you necessarily need it, because some of these funds, the HDFC Balanced and the Birla do have a reasonable amount of large cap holdings. So, you're kind of taken care of from there. But if you want a pure play large cap holding, I wouldn't mind you adding another fund from a large cap space like the Birla Frontline Equity, an HDFC Top 100 or an ICICI Blue Chip. You can add that. And more importantly, keep increasing your SIP amounts, as you progress around in life, because, that's what you need to. So plan about, 5-10% increase every year, and I think you're set for your retirement.
All right, Emmanuel, I hope that works for you.
Thank you so much.
All right, then enjoy Goa, and we hope we'll run into you there someday. All right, out next, Rumit Singh is on the line with us, and he calls in from Pune, another one of my favorite cities. Hi, Rumit, how are you? How can we help you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Tell me, how can we help you?
Sure. So I just shared my portfolio with you guys. I have around 15,000 per month investment through SIP direct method, going to these 5, mutual funds. Just wanted to the guests to have a look at my portfolio and see whether the horizon that I have in mind is 15 to 20 years or maybe more. And the only immediate need would be my daughter's higher education, and then after that her, marriage, and that's it.
Okay. So, Rumit, in how many years would you need the money? I mean, in 2 tranches, I understand that. But how many year apart are they, and when would you require the first set of funds?
I think the first set will be 15 years from today.
Okay. And have you sort of earmarked how much you would need for both events?
I think around 40 to 50 lakhs is the initial thought, and then depending on inflation and everything, I haven't calculated that actually, but that's what my initial thought is.
Okay, and my final question to you is this portfolio of whatever 4-5 funds that you have sent to us, this portfolio is only to cater to these 2 events, right? It doesn't involve your retirement and so on and so forth.
No, this is purely for my child's education and marriage.
Okay. So, Rumit, first up, I want to also congratulate you because you've managed to bucket your goals and therefore your, investments, and which actually is the best way to proceed, isn't it, Kaustubh?
Absolutely, and Rumit, again, I would like to congratulate you on that, and I'm very happy you're calling in from Pune. I am from Pune, so.
I studied in Pune.
Okay, so it's good to speak to someone who's really done his research and really thought through some of these things. And again, I'm just looking at the construct of your portfolio. Just a few opening thoughts that I would have. One is, you've clearly. You've got a good concentrated portfolio. I don't mind that, but I'm just looking through the list of funds, and I see, there is an ICICI Banking and Financial Services Fund, which is, as per I look at it, about 20% of your portfolio. A little on the aggressive side, I would say. Typically we don't recommend more than about 10, tops 15% in a sort of thematic play, and on a fund level it should definitely not be more than 10% in a thematic play. While saying that, given that banking financial services anyways is a pretty large part of our of our indices, it's a slightly more broad-based theme, so I don't mind it right now. But if you're looking to add on to funds, or adding on to your SIP numbers on some of the other funds, I would say maybe hold back on the ICICI Pru fund. You're already good where you are, and maybe you can look at adding on to some of the more multi-cap and the large cap names, and some of the mid-cap names that you have. On a fund level basis, I'm quite comfortable. There's only one point that I would like to bring out is the first fund on the list, which is the Reliance Focus Equity. Now this is a fund which is it's got a little bit of a change, both on, I would say, a little bit on the mandate side and the fund manager. So now, as the name suggests, Focus Equity, it will be a more concentrated portfolio. Investing only in about 30 stocks. That's a mandate as per the regulator. And traditionally, the fund's been largely focused towards the small and mid-cap side. This is something that will continue to happen. So I think that's something you need to be cognizant of. That there will be heightened risks, volatility in this fund basis that. And also, obviously, there's been a recent change in manager in this strategy. But there's someone who's come in with a reasonable amount of pedigree from ICICI, so we don't mind it. But I would just say, just be cognizant of the fact that this fund will be fairly more volatile than some of the others in your portfolio. Otherwise, I think you're all good and set, and just keep some of these pointers in mind, like I mentioned, on your portfolio.
All right, Rumit, all the best. I hope that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thanks very much for calling in. Up next, a query comes in from Mr. MSK Reddy. He writes to us from Hyderabad, and he wants to know what Kaustubh thinks of the DSP Healthcare Fund. Before I toss it over to Kaustubh, just one word of advice actually for all the viewers, not just who are writing into us, but everybody who's watching, is to not look at the fund in isolation, to actually look at the kind of place that fund has in your portfolio and how it can actually work to further the objective of your portfolio. And therefore this question's on an isolated fund. I mean, Kaustubh, you're at a disadvantage also to comment on this, but nevertheless, just the fund itself.
Sumera, thanks for sort of setting the ground, and you've really hit the nail on the head that it's very hard to comment on a single fund in a portfolio because it clearly forms an overall asset allocation. But the one thing I would bring out is that whatever the gentleman's portfolio is, this fund shouldn't typically be more than 5-10%. And the most important reason for that is because it's a very, very sector specific theme, and we've seen that healthcare specifically stocks have struggled over the last few years. They've probably got a little bit of a run up over the last year or so, but risks still exist. And in fact, even managers, when we look at the way they've been allocating to healthcare stocks and more diversified funds, they haven't gone really gung-ho on them yet. There've been select counters that they've been picking on, and there is because it's a very, very company specific thing. So so healthcare as a theme, I wouldn't paint it with a broad brush just yet. Like, we spoke about the financial services, which is probably a slightly more broader theme. Healthcare becomes even that much more niche. So you need to get, your sort of view on that right. And like I said, managers are not really supremely gung-ho on that yet. Some stocks have done well, and we've also seen some stress on the likes of Sun Pharma. So I would be a little, wary about going too aggressive on this, on any healthcare fund for that matter, not specifically this one. Take a more graded exposure, probably 5% of your portfolio, if you want to get a flavor of a thematic idea.
And Kaustubh, I mean, this is an idea we have explored earlier, but a lot of the bigger sectors, can't we also play that via a good large cap fund or say a good mid cap fund? Absolutely,
and that's exactly the point that I'm making, that managers will, while they won't take very aggressive calls, but they will take calls. Someone goes, they're overweight the whole
Yeah,
spending, or they'll go into consumer discretionary, they'll go into financials, and that'll be a significant part of their portfolio. So you can play a lot of these themes through that.
All right, I missed that part. Thanks much. Let's take a quick break. Kaustubh stays on with us. We'll answer some more mutual fund queries when we return in just a bit. Stay tuned. Hi, welcome back. You're watching the MF Corner. Kaustubh Belapurkar of Morningstar is with us and he's answering the queries that are coming in. Our next caller is with us already. Manjunath Savur calls in from Karnataka. Hi, Manjunath, how can we help you?
Hi, Sunera. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you as well. Tell me.
Hi, sir. I'm 34 years old, ma'am. And since 6 months, I'm investing in SIP in HDFC Mid-Cap Opportunity Fund. Rupees 1,500 per month. And my question is, I want to add 3 more mutual fund in my portfolio. Please suggest me which mutual fund I can add it my portfolio.
Okay, so you're looking at a time horizon of 10 years, is that right?
Yes, ma'am. 10 years, ma'am. I'm a long-term investor.
Okay. Do you know how much money you would need at the end of 10 years? I mean, is this any specific goal that you're saving money for?
I have a goal, ma'am. After 10 years, I require at least from 10 to 12 crore rupees.
Okay. All right. So, Kaustubh, we have a lot of things actually which are quite sorted. One is that, Manjunath so far has only one fund. He has a goal in mind. He has a time horizon, a fixed amount that he's desirous of. He's looking to now expand his portfolio. Is he on the right track with the HDFC mid-cap opportunities, and what can he add?
Sure. So, yeah, to start with HDFC mid-cap opportunities, I think definitely I think one of the best managed funds on the mid-cap side. Chirag, who's been managing this fund since inception, he's done a phenomenal job of, the way he's really, so I mean, they concentrate really on quality management and really doing a lot of own proprietary research when it comes to discovering these ideas. One of the, concerns that some of the street had that the fund had become too large. Would he continue to manage the way he has? And, pleasingly so, he's continued to deliver without really moving away from the core of the strategy. So, the size, while it's become large, it's maybe a little bit of a, not a red flag, but a little bit of a thing that we want to keep an eye on, but I don't think a concern at this point of time. So definitely a fund I would recommend Manjunath to continue to invest into through his SIP. One of the best strategies that is there. To the second part of the question, when he spoke about, what are the other funds that he can add, and given that he's got a 10-year horizon, I would recommend a mix of a few large cap, multi-cap, and maybe another mid-cap fund to kind of add up to his portfolio. So, you can look at some of the large cap funds like HDFC Top 100, the Birla Frontline, I think extremely well managed, stable strategies. On the multi-cap side, there's a Mirai Asset Equity Fund, which is another really well-run fund by Nilesh that I would definitely recommend him to look at. And the last one I think we spoke about during our Diwali time also was the Franklin Prima, which is another mid-cap strategy. Again, a very, very quality-focused mid-cap fund.
25 years in existence.
Absolutely, absolutely. So these are some of the names that I would recommend Manjunath to look and really get into. And again, the same philosophy follows that he needs to continue to amp up his SIP amounts every year so that he can very easily meet his goal after 10 years. I think it's achievable. He just needs to keep ramping up that SIP amount.
Okay, Manjunath, so that's the advice for you. You've heard the recommendations from Kaustubh. As and when possible, gradually look to increase your SIP investments every month. You're on track to achieve your goal, but you can actually look at a bigger, a pot of gold rather at the end of your rainbow. All right. Up next, Mr. Premjit Dhillon is on the line with us from Punjab. Hi, Mr. Dhillon. Good afternoon, sir. How can we help you?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Tell me, how can we help you?
Yes, I was told that I got some money in the PPF accumulated over the years, 25, 30 years, which way I can use it so that I can get the return at least better than the market, maybe anything about expectations of 50 to 60,000 rupees a month
Okay.
for my livelihood.
Sir, this you've accumulated already about 55 lakhs in PPF, am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an existing portfolio of mutual fund schemes or shares or anything like that?
I have got some, but not on that is different, not much onto that.
Okay, Kaustubh, Mr. Dillon is retired. He's 75 years old. He now wants to put to use the PPF amount that he has collected. He's looking at a monthly income flow of about 50 to 60,000 rupees. I would assume completely risk averse.
Right.
How should he go about doing this?
Sure. So the couple of things are very important for Mr. Dillon to keep in mind is that given his age and that he's looking for a monthly sort of steady sort of flow from these funds, I would purely look at parking his funds into fixed income funds, and mostly from the ultra short duration and the short duration categories, because those are the the funds that would get him a decent yield, at the same time not be volatile enough to actually hamper. So you can get into the dividend plan or do an SWP from those. The only concern that I see is that the monthly requirement that he's mentioned, about 50 to 60,000 rupees, given the sum of money that he has right now, and if he conservatively assume a return on these funds, he should be probably making about 35,000 rupees, through these on a monthly basis, where he doesn't really have to dip into the capital, because that's the other thing that he needs to keep in mind, that he can't be substantially dipping into his capital and try to earn and live off only the returns that the funds are generating. But otherwise, he would deplete his capital much before that, his life. So that's something he needs to keep in mind. 35,000 would be a reasonable amount to expect without really dipping into the capital. If he starts amping up to 45,000, then he'll probably have a tenure of 10 to 12 years before he completely depletes his capital. But I would definitely say that it's fixed income and nothing beyond that, because equity is not something that you should be looking at this time.
What would be the tax implications if he was to start a systematic withdrawal plan?
Yes, so obviously what he can do is through capital gains, if he's depending on his tax bracket, he would have to pay a tax on it. Dividend obviously would get taxed automatically. So in fact, an SWP might make sense, because if he doesn't have any other income, which is most likely, then hopefully he'll get most of the concession. Most of the income could potentially fall through without paying too much of a tax on that.
All right, Mr. Dillon, I hope that advice works for you. Look at a fixed income product, perhaps shorter, ultra short duration. You could look at starting a systematic withdrawal plan. But once again, before you actually get into it, do clarify the tax implications with an expert. On that note, Kaustubh, we'll thank you for joining in this afternoon and for advising all our viewers. Thanks very much for making the trip. I know Bombay traffic, it can be very, very tricky. All right. Up next, lots more coming up. Do stay tuned.